And there we go. All right. So welcome to Duncanville ISD's active classroom. I'm still trying to find out whether or not we can set you guys up with ClassLink. Hopefully we can get that done sometime today. I'm not really certain. I did connect your technology person with our tech team. Normally we do that with full paid programs automatically, but we just kind of gave this out to you guys as an emergency. So I'm going to show you just some kind of quick ways around everything to make it really, really simple. I'm going to show you guys how to search by TEKS. I'm also going to show you, how to find different types of assignments and how to assign them out to students, as well as how to print them if you need to print. So let's get started. Any questions before we begin? Nope. Okay, well, so you guys should have gotten a link from Sarah. She sent it around, and there was a tutorial video as well with that. So it kind of reiterates some of the things I'm going to go over with you guys right now. But I thought it would be better to do kind of a live demo so you guys could ask some questions as we go. All right, so once you get the link sent to you, you will click on it to register. And so you'll just enter your information. And then from there on out, don't use that link anymore. Simply go to activeclassroom.com. Once you have your username and password set up, you'll always just go to activeclassroom.com and just click to remember your password, and it'll remember you. So if you need to set up students, let me make sure I'm in the right account. To set up your students, it's really, really pretty simple. The first step you want to do, and this is super, super critical, is you want to create your classes before you ever try to add students. The reason you do this is because it will make your life 1,000 times easier. So all you have to do is create a new student class, give it a name. It's really that simple. Like, watch. I just click here for new student class, give it a name, 7th period, and then hit save. And done. It tells you success. And so from here, you can do a couple of different things, but I'm going to show you guys what I prefer to do. So I go back to classes right here, or you can click on the word students, and right here, there is a student registration URL. All you have to do now, watch this. You just copy and paste that into Google Classroom, Schoology. I forgot what you guys are using, but whatever you guys are using, you just paste that into your classroom, and the students set themselves up. This is how easy it is. So what you will do here is once the student gets it, tell them to use their Duncanville ISD account. Somebody mentioned earlier it was like their lunch ID. So whatever their email is for Duncanville ISD, they put that in. They don't have to put a contact phone number. They can enter their password right here. I suggest you use the same one that they use for Duncanville. And then right here, select your teacher's class. This is why you set up the classes in advance, because look, now the students just select which class they belong in. They select their class, they hit I agree, and they register. And it is really that simple. So it's just it's one step. You send them that registration URL. They have to put their first name, last name, email and confirm it, skip contact, put in their password, and then select the class that they belong in and hit agree. Once they do that, students will also access through activeclassroom.com, but I'm going to show you another way. Once you get them registered, I'm going to show you a way that you can assign things and give them a direct link to get in, but they absolutely must register first, because if they don't register and they just click on the assignment link, it's not going to recognize them. So really, really important there. All right. I'm going to come back here to this is where we started here with the classes, setting up the classes. You can click on the active classroom or the A to go back to the home page. You can also use these 3 dots over here to navigate where you want to go. I always just like coming back here. I like looking at the icons and going that route. So another couple of things, when you guys log in, I want you guys to notice right here it has a new lesson. This one is on mapping the coronavirus. That was just released last week, I think on Thursday or Friday, and it compares the coronavirus pandemic with like SARS and MERS and how those things have been a little bit different. Then there's a getting started video right here that's pretty cool as well. You can also delete all the notifications on this page if you want all this stuff removed off of here. Like right here, it tells you when students have turned something in. It also will give you a little email notification when things are done that way. Let me show you a couple of more quick little like help type of items before we go into the content of the program. So if you forget what I said and you watch my tutorial and you still want to know more, you can click on the little question mark button. This provides you with a user guide for not only teachers, but also for students. In the student login, there's also this same guide for students under the question mark. So that's just a good place to start if you get lost on something. Then there are these great user guide video tutorials. They're really short down here. And then on top of that, so these short little, they're anywhere from like a minute to about 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes there. They're really short, but they're very specific. It tells you exactly how to do everything in Active Classroom. Then down here, if you want to go to our professional learning, you'll click on this AC 101, and this takes you into our professional learning site. It takes a little bit to load there, okay? So for Active Classroom, we have a lot of great resources for you. You have the course here if you want to take a self-guided course. If you really want to learn the ins and outs of the program, this is a great way to do it. You don't have to do this though. There's also micro-credentials are something more for like when you're in the classroom. Although who knows, we may end up adding a micro-credential for remote teaching. That may be something that's next for micro-credentials. Learning Corner is more for intellectual discussions. There are teachers, professors, all kinds of social studies people that are in there, and there's different topics for exploring kind of some intellectual discussions, usually either on teaching strategies or on content, social studies content. Then you have our webinars as well. There are a ton of great webinars. You can sign up to participate in a live webinar with our professional learning staff. We have directors from social studies, from different school districts and things like that that sometimes host these. Really a lot of cool opportunities. There's one coming up, it looks like in a couple of days, on curriculum mapping, and then another one on investigating personal primary sources. And then next month we've got a couple more, but I imagine these are this list is going to grow. Our plan is to add a bunch more of these webinars here soon. But you can always access our database of webinars, and it has all different kinds of topics. This one's on assessments. There's one on the C3. There's one on pre-teaching strategies for ELL students. So a lot of things, and they usually connect back to something in Active Classroom. They focus usually on pedagogy and strategies, but then some type of connection back to how that's applicable in Active Classroom. All right, now we're going to go back to the home page. So I'm just going to click on the word Active Classroom. It takes me back home. I'm going to pause here. It looks like we have, where do we post the URL again? Okay, so let me back up. So it looks like there's a question about adding students. So to add students, after you guys get your registration link, which is very similar to what the students get, you simply take this link, you copy and you paste it into whatever way you are communicating with students. So if you post that in Google Classroom or Schoology or an email, whatever you guys do to communicate with students, that's where you will paste that. So you'll copy and paste your unique, don't take mine, don't take this registration code because they'll get into my classroom. This is unique to every single teacher. All right, did I clarify that? Any other questions? I'll pause here just for a second to see if you guys have questions. You can type them in the chat box or you can unmute and ask. No? Okay, well, let's keep going then. All right, so the first thing I want to show you guys right here is the atlases. So this, you only have to do this one time, but I'm going to show you guys how to do this. So all of the Nystrom atlases are here, with the exception with the 5th grade one is not loaded in here, but you can use this Atlas of Texas History for 4th grade, and you can use this United States History Atlas. It's a little bit higher, but your students still should be able to attack that for 5th grade. But definitely for 8th grade, the U.S. History Atlas is spot on. So you have to share the atlas. So once you decide which atlas you want to assign to your students, and you can assign multiple if you'd like, but let's say, for my 4th grade students, I'm going to assign this Atlas of Texas History. You simply click on it, add all of your classes over here, all the classes you want added in. Once you've added in all of your classes, you simply go to the bottom and hit share. Once you do that, you've shared it with your students and you're done. It's really that easy. So that's how you add those atlases. Those atlases are more like a flip book, so they can flip through the pages. You can tell them to go look at certain maps and things like that. There's some good short readings in there. They're all bullet pointed, easy text. But I'm going to show you another place where you can assign assignments related to that atlas. So let's go there now. All right, back on the home page, we've looked at our atlases. Does anybody have any questions about the atlas? No? Okay, so let's keep going. We're now going to click on the maps. So I'm going to show you guys the maps. This is kind of a free draw tool. I'm going to show you another place where this is located as well, where you can actually assign specific activities. This is more for just like a free draw or building some type of presentation. If you want the kids to come in here, maybe you're teaching 6th grade world cultures and you're having them study, South America here. Maybe you could have them add information in. This right here, the layers, you can click on to add borders. You can add political features, physical features, all of those things on. You can also change between maps. So over here, you have your intermediate maps, which would be your political world and physical world in US, continents and oceans, land use, population density, precipitation, temperature, time zones, wealth of countries, and an outline map. So that's your intermediate. Your secondary, let me shrink this down real quick. Your secondary maps would include like your political relief. So this is a little bit more advanced political map. Your sculptural relief, which looks at elevations. Your land cover, which looks at biomes around the world. Land use, this one's a little more detailed than the intermediate one. Same thing with this population density, growing seasons, climate, tectonic plates, precipitation, and all of those in here. On top of that, we also offer you guys all of the U.S. history, and there's even Texas history as well. So you've got all these different U.S. history maps you can layer on. Let me just grab one here. Let's do the 13 colonies. Okay, so like you've got the 13 colonies map over here. This one has the religions of those colonies. The kids can analyze this. And then let me shrink that down a little bit. And then you've got the state boundaries today. Down here in this toolbox, there's some things here, like there's a legend. The legends are actually built into the history maps, but they're not for the like the base maps that I showed you earlier. So the legend has a lot of good, useful information. This icon here works more for the political maps. I'll show you there in a minute. And then there's this great toolbox down here. So let's say you want students to add in economic activities of the 13 colonies. They could put in, little fishing out here. Maybe they can do like commercial farming down here. Some different things. Oops, I didn't select the right one. There we go. Haystacks in there. You've got these different items that the students could put in. There are also other icons over here, school buildings, churches, trees, stuff like that. Transportation. You could talk about shipbuilding up in the north. And of course, things like oil, maybe different places where you might find oil, tornadoes, all those things here too. So this is where you can kind of build, you can build a map. If you want to build something that you're going to save, you'll want to open up this gallery right here. Hold on a second, I've got to change my screen resolution because it's blocking that here. So this in the gallery, this is where you can create a new presentation and share presentations right here. And so you can go in and you can look at things that you've done and saved here. And so this is one that I did with Dallas ISD on Friday. And so we dropped in some information, and then you can also exit out of this right here. All right, so that's really the mapping tool. I'm going to show you, I did not show you this here. So when This is like if you wanted to do, let me see, I'm trying to think of like something I did with my geography classes. I know you guys aren't that level. Let's think of, how about world cultures? Okay, let's say you're studying like maybe African cultures, um, pre-colonization or something like that. The students could come in here and they could type in information. Over here, they could add in videos, type in text, things like that. Down here, they can add a video or pictures. So there's different things that they can put in there too. So it's really a cool way to build like a really robust presentation. And when you do the create a presentation, you can actually make multiple slides. So it's not just one static slide. They can actually have multiple layers to it, so they can add, like, click on the next slide and you get more information and so on. So that's the mapping free draw tool. There's a lot of really cool stuff in there. Now, you guys, I'm going to show you how to find things by your TEKS and how you can assign things out to the students. So I'm going to click on activities here. And since I know we had some fourth grade teachers in here, I'm going to start with fourth and seventh grade and show you guys some of the Texas history stuff. So I'm going to start right here and go down to Texas Studies. And you'll notice that there are these ones here are probably more for like seventh grade. They're at a higher Lexile level. These are some interactive mapping activities. These are kind of neat. Let's do this one here on the Republic of Texas. Again, this one might be a little bit more difficult for fourth graders, but you can always try and assign it. It's students use the map over here on this side. They look at the map, they can enlarge it, and they answer the questions here. If you're in student view, you can switch to student view as a teacher, and so you see how the students can select the answers here. And so they'll use the maps, they'll answer the questions, and then usually there are other things here like this one. The students have to reorganize and create a timeline of events. So they have to follow the map over here and they have to create a timeline. So it's just kind of a neat interactive activity for the kids to do. There's a bunch of these ones. Let me go back over here. So there's quite a few of those interactive mapping activities. There's about 10 of the decision making. Those decision making activities are really cool. They put the kids in the shoes of somebody in history, and then they have to make a decision as if they were that person. You can also sort by Lexile as well. So let me show you the fourth grade content. Fourth grade content, you've got this series called Texas Studies. It's Texas Studies ELL, but it's really the fourth grade content. It runs parallel to the seventh grade content, but it's written at about a third, fourth grade reading level, so it's pretty attainable for your students. You'll notice here that it is broken into chunks right here. And so you've got all of these different things here, a lot of resources, all of those items here. So let's take a look at one of these activities. Let's look at Spanish missions. So I'm going to click on the eyeball to go in and view the activity. And now I'm here in the Texas Studies Spanish missions. And you'll notice on the left-hand side, this is the table of contents for this activity. At home, your students can download these and print these out. These are foldable activities. So you can send these home if you want to in a packet with the reading, but these are vocabulary cards, and those are pretty simple on that one. I want to show you some of the more foldable types of activities, like this mission mapping one. I think this might be a foldable. I haven't looked at this one in a while. Oh, no, this is a mapping activity where they follow on a grid, and they use a grid system to build out their map. And so it has a longer reading for them, and then they follow the instructions there to map out this mission, or the missions. So that's one, and then this one has fib cards right here. And I haven't seen these ones yet. Find the fib card. So this looks like some type of, which one is different. Imagine something like that. Yeah. And so the kids put their fib card in there. And that's all in the teacher's guide instructions over there, so you can go and look at that at any time. But when you want to, you take a look at this, and you're like, okay, here's the vocabulary. Seventh grade is set up very similar, but seventh grade has built in, every unit has an assessment for it, and so you can send those out, whereas this one here for fourth grade, I believe that the assessments are built more into the activities themselves. So you can see the reading here, and it's going to cover, it's actually going through covering some of these things on this side: Mexican independence, end of the Spanish missions, and then down here you have the finding facts, and those actually cover all of these items up to here. So you see it brings us right to that. So all the readings are in that piece, and then you have review questions at the end. So these are the assessments for the fourth grade one. Right here it has readings, so students have to read through these and select true and, or A, B, C, or D, and then this one has additional questions there for them. And then it has the activities explained over here on this side as well. So when the students submit this, it will actually auto-grade it for you as well. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to click on the little Assign Activity button. And when you go to assign it, right here you can choose percentage. I like percentage better than points because I don't want to figure out what 6 out of 7 is. I want to know a percentage. I want to know that it was a 93 or something like that. So I'm going to assign it now to my first period. And over here you can modify the assignment. So let's say you want to change this for your ELL or ESL students, or maybe for your special ed kids. You can reduce the assignment out over here by just selecting the pieces that you want to assign. Right here you can create groups of students, and that's a little bit more advanced. I'll really guide you towards that. The little question mark, it shows you guys how to create groups once you have your students in there, so you can assign out different things. Now, I'm going to tell you a couple more things real quick about this before we assign it. So right here, read and do questions, complete the, maybe I want them to do vocab and mission mapping activity. Okay, so I want them to do those. I'm not going to have them do the fib card, so I remove that one from there. And I've told them what I want them to do. If you want them to look for certain things as they read, you can set highlights right here. So as you read, what do we want them to look for? Maybe reasons for missions. And so I'm going to give a highlight right here, add highlight, and I'm going to hit done. And so over here in my instructions, I'm going to say highlight reasons for missions and explain. And you're going to see why that matters here in just a moment. All right, so you guys see I've given the students instructions. I've set my custom highlight. You don't have to do this, but I wanted my students to read with a purpose. And you can do this, guys, for any grade level. I'm just using an example from fourth grade right now because the first teacher that signed in was fourth grade, so I'm starting with them. All right, so right here I've done that, and I'm going to hit Save Assignment. Now, this is really important. Here is after your students have registered. Remember, they have to register first. The phone call I actually got at the beginning of this meeting was from a teacher who didn't do this step, and so I'm having to go back and help her with this. So register your students first. Use that first thing that I showed you guys where you send the students the registration link. Once they're signed up, then you simply copy and paste this wherever you guys are pasting assignments or putting assignments in. And this will take the students directly into that assignment. Now, I have a very important caveat. So if you assign this and then you create a separate one for your ELL students, you need to be careful, because if you post this for everybody and you assign something different to your ELL students and they click on this link, they're going to get the full assignment. So be careful, think about how you want to do it, how you want to do those modifications. But this link right here will take your students directly into the assignment after they have gone through the registration process. So this is when you're done, you've assigned it, you copy and paste that into whatever you're using. I'm going to pause for questions. So if you guys could unmute yourself or type into the chat box, and I'll keep my eyeballs over there on the chat box for a minute. Anybody have any questions about that? No? Okay, so now I'm going to show you what it looks like from the student perspective. So now my student, this one right here. Okay, so now I'm going to go look in. This is the student that I just assigned the work to. All right, so I can see right here, When I log in as a student, I've got my assignments and grades, I've got my atlas, I have my maps, and I have a discussion forum that the teacher moderates. I'll show you guys that towards the end. All right, so Spanish missions, I'm going to open this and take a look. It says read and do questions. Complete the vocab and missions mapping activity. Highlight reasons for missions and explain. All right, so here is my assignment. I'm going to go through, and as I'm reading, I'm just going to highlight this. I'm not even, it doesn't really fit, but I'm just going to highlight it right here. They click on the little highlighter tool and reasons for missions, and they can type in why. They can explain their reason why, hit save changes, and so the students are annotating and they're marking this up as they read. If they can't read very well, or let's say they only speak Spanish, you can click on this little enable speech icon and you can have it read to the students by pressing the play button.
Spanish
It highlights the word as it's being read,
1600s.
and it highlights the sentence. So that's one tool. It reads the two of them in English, but also right here, if I highlight this paragraph and click on the little world button, it looks like I had defaulted, I think this is Burmese, but you can change the language over here in the settings. So we have about, yeah, it was Burmese. So I've got 30 different languages from Arabic, Bengali, Chinese, Filipino, all these different languages here. It usually defaults to Spanish. So it'll automatically save on Spanish. And check this out. So you can highlight something, and if a kid, a lot of times our Spanish speaking students are Spanish speaking, but not Spanish reading, especially if their families were like migrant workers or something like that, where they may not have been in Spanish, you know, in schools in Central America or Mexico or wherever they're from. So they may be able to speak it, but not read it. So it's really nice because it'll actually read to them in Spanish as well. So those are some really cool tools that we've built in there. There are some other tools as well, like you can highlight the word explorers and click on the picture dictionary, and it's going to give us some images right there. You see the guy on a boat here getting ready to explore, and then the guy looking through the tall weeds over here. Then it also has a built-in dictionary as well. So right here, it's got nouns, explorers, all that information right there. So just a lot of really extra cool tools to help your kids. This is the printer button. You'll notice that the printer button also lives in yours. You can select which pieces. You can either select the whole thing to print, or you can select just part of it if you want to do that. And then hit print selected, and it creates a PDF for you. And so here it is. And you can, of course, when you send this home, you see it's fillable, so the kids can mark right in here, or they can fill it out on the paper and then turn it into you. And it gives them boxes to write in their answers. And that's pretty much it from the student's side here. Let me go back. See if there's anything else I want to show you guys. I'm going to show you the marker tool. Oh, here is the discussion forum. So whenever you post an activity, the kids will go right here. Oh, wait, actually, before we do that, I'm going to show you, I'm going to just answer a couple of questions so you can see what it looks like from like a graded assignment. Okay, so the kids are walking through. I'm going to go to the review questions, and I'm going to answer as a student. So I'm just going to answer A. I think I missed a bunch up here. I did. Yeah, so I'm going to click C, and I'll show you guys what it looks like from the teacher gradebook side when we're done. While I'm doing this, does anybody have any questions they want to ask verbally? You can also type as well if you want, but I'm not looking at the chat box right now. Okay, so I'm done as a student. It does save you work as you progress. So you'll notice here, I go on here and I say, and just type it in. Just going to type in some answers here. And then there's the mapping activity down here, which they click on this to download that and print that out. So this one is done offline, but the kids can print those out and they can actually attach them back to their assignment when they turn it in. So if you want them to attach the Spanish missions one, just click on the little attachment button and they can attach it back to it. All right, so I'm going to turn in the assignment. It says, are you sure you want to turn in the assignment? And I say, yes, I do. And it gives me a well done, and it shows me a timestamp of when I turned in the assignment. All right, now I'm going to hop back to my teacher view real quick to show you guys what that looks like. And while I do that, I'm going to check the chat box to see if anybody typed in. Nope, nothing in there right now. Okay, good. All right, so now I'm back as the teacher, and I can see that my student has just turned in this assignment. All right, so now I want to grade it. So I'm going to click on Assignments and Grades. Over here, I can launch it. If I want to look at the student's annotations, I would launch. So I'm going to click on the Launch button. And this allows me to look at annotations, not to grade their work. And you see I can toggle between students. I can select which student I want to look at. It shows me when they turned it in. And as I look through here, I can find their annotations. So if I go back here, I think it was on the Spanish missions, and there are their annotations. And I can give them feedback right here. So I can say, great job. And when you do that, it gives them a little notification. You see that right there? It gives them a little notification bell telling them that their teacher gave them feedback. So that's one way to do it, to look at their annotations if you want to do that. But let's say you actually want to grade the assignment. You simply click on the little grade button right here. And then look, it's already auto graded for me. It tells me that so far they have an 18%. Not so good, right? That's because I just randomly guessed on that. But it did not grade the short answers, so you need to make sure you grade that. So you just go through, you can give them some feedback over here if you want to do that for each question. I'm scrolling through, I can see all of the ones that they did. And right here, these are the short answers, so I can see what the expected answer was. This one says the answers will vary, so you will have to look at that as well. And I can just say good job, good job, good job, half credit here. So I'm going to go back up, and you can see that the grade automatically changes as soon as you grade those. A lot of times those short answers should have some type of expected answer. I'm kind of surprised that there wasn't one in there for that one. But you may have to go and look at that. So that is pretty much it for that portion. So now let's go back. I'm going to click on the home page, and I'm going to find activity by TEKS now. So let's go in and take a look at some activities by TEKS. So I'm going to click here on the standards button, and I'm going to select my grade level. I'm going to go with 8th grade. So we're going to go with 8th grade, and you want to select state content standards, which will be your TEKS, and hit update. And then it pulls up all of your TEKS. So just real quick, if you guys, somebody could type in, or Sarah, if you could answer, what are they studying right now in U.S. history? Is it sectionalism? Oh, you're muted, Sarah. There you go.
Yeah, or 8th grade?
Yes.
Or I think so. Don't hold me to that. Let me check. We kind of went off the rails.
Well, this right here, this will pull up those items related to sectionalism here. And so I just typed in the word sectionalism, I hit update, and it gave me the 2 TEKS relating to sectionalism. So I'm going to click on this and watch what happens below. You guys see how it has the acting plays down here? When I click on this button, it's going to filter all those activities down below. And so those will change, and there they go. So let's take a look. It gave me a bunch of different activities. You will notice the icons on the left-hand side. Those tell you what kind of activity that you're going to be assigning. So obviously these are readings. These ones are Atlas activities. There are some backwards planning PowerPoints. I will warn you, these are pretty massive. You may want to just tell them to go through certain slides. You know, let's just look at slides 1 through 15, and then we'll discuss or just answer the questions over here. These C3 inquiry ones are awesome, but they're really high level in terms of like, these are, I think your on-level kids could probably do it with a little bit of support and help. These are more for like probably pre-AP for 8th grade. But they're really good lessons. You might find some that are a little bit easier, like these ones here in the 940 range might be a little bit easier. This one here is 790, would probably be easier for them. So anyways, there's a bunch of them here, like these Colonial Williamsburg. These have great videos. I really like the Colonial Williamsburg. It starts off with a brief intro. It's usually just like a paragraph or so, and then it goes into your vocabulary, and then a timeline. And after that, there are 3 videos that go along with this. And so the Colonial Williamsburg Education Foundation is wonderful. They made all of these videos. Sometimes they're reenactments. There's a great one on separation of powers, checks and balances, where it's a baseball game, and like the Congress is playing the president, and then of course you've got the umpires, which are the Supreme Court, the court system. So it's kind of neat the way they roll it out, and there are some questions that go along with it the kids can answer here. And then there are activities. You may want to be careful assigning these. This does use Flash Player, so if the kids don't have Flash Player, they won't be able to do them. They're these interactive activities where they got little cartoon animations and stuff like that. They're pretty neat. But don't assign those if your kids don't have Flash Player, if your district blocks it. All right, I'm going to go back here to the activities again. And just kind of going through, you can see there ended up being quite a few activities here. There are these debating the documents. These are primary source analysis, decision-making activities, document-based, everyday life. Those are good readings. They're a lot of fun. These key decisions, I really like these. These are short. They're about 5 or 10 minutes. But the kids they're like a shortened version of those big decision-making activities. If you do a regular decision-making activity, it's going to be like a full class period, whereas these are like a nice little warm-up, little starter. These are done more individually, whereas the decision-making is more for like whole class instruction, where the kids are working in small groups or something like that. These history unfolding, these are really neat, short primary source analysis. So you'll see here it gives a 1-paragraph background and then kind of the big idea right here. And then when you click on the illustrations themselves, you will see it gives you background information on the illustrations, these specific 2 illustrations. And then when you click on it here, the kids can go and look for details. And so they can go and look at all of the details going on in this image, and then there are questions down below that the students answer. So it asks them to look at these 2 first. So they're looking at these 2 images, and then we move on to the next illustration right here. And so this is that famous attack in the Senate. Right? And then right here, you've got this other one as well. So just some short little primary source analysis that you can assign out to your kids also. All right, let me just go through a couple more and check. Storytellers' histories, these are great, and they're low level. They're kind of tongue-in-cheek. The author is Steve Shankin. He wrote 3 different books that we have in our series. One is called Two Miserable Presidents. They are historically accurate, but he writes it in kind of a funny, tongue-in-cheek sort of way. So he's got Two Miserable Presidents about Civil War. Then we have another one, King George, What Was His Problem?, which was Revolution. And then we have another one on Which Way to the Wild West, obviously on westward expansion. So those are in there. Then you have some videos down here, The Turning Points. That's a series, and Unfinished Nation is another series of videos that we have. They're short, like 3 to 5 minutes, and then there's some questions that accompany those as well. Then the U.S. history readers, these are a little bit high level. You can see the Lexile levels over here, so you can use those as kind of a guide for you. All right, I'm going to pause now to see if you guys have questions. So is there anything you guys want to ask me about this? I'm giving you a lot of info.
Jason, did you mention about how if there's a way that they can link this to like Google Classroom?
Yes, I said after they assign it, and I'll show you guys another activity, and we'll do that again as well. But yes, after the students are registered, they will take they have to register all their students first, but then once they find an activity they want to assign, there's a link once they assign it that they can post right into Google Classroom. All right, so I mentioned to you guys early on, I'm going to show you 2 different ones. I'm going to show you an Atlas activity now. So Let's take a look at one of those. I'm going to show you maybe a level 1. Let's go jump ahead a couple of slides here. Let's go to the United States before the Civil War. I'm going to do a level 1 activity. So right here, this is a level 1 activity. It has bullet points, a map, and then some low-level questions for the kids to answer. Really pretty simple. You'll notice over here from the teacher point of view, you also have the ability to print this in a PDF. And I'm going to show you guys again how to assign. So let's click on the little assign button, and I'm just going to assign this. You guys remember I showed you the custom highlights here so that you can have them mark up text. You can give them instructions here. Answer all parts of assignment. And so I've done that, and when you hit save assignment, this is that link that you post into Google Classroom. Remember, you cannot do this until your students are registered, so make sure that you guys register your students first. Like I said, I'm hoping that we're going to be able to provide you guys access through ClassLink, but for now, they should just be able to log in to Active Classroom with their Duncanville ISD username and password, as long as you tell them to sign up with that. Okay, so now let's look at one more. And I'm going to go for something for 6th grade, world cultures now. I'm going to show 2. So the mapping our world, there's a mapping US history as well, and there's a mapping world history. I love these. These are really fun activities where the kids are building maps. So let's jump ahead. I'm going to guess that you guys are probably on maybe Africa at this point or somewhere in that area. So let's do this. I'm going to do this lesson on the Sahara. So when you click on the little icon, it takes you into the assignment. It's going to show us what it looks like from the teacher view here in just a second. So it's going to change maps. And so from the teacher view, let me zoom out a little bit. It's going to show us the completed activity. This is what the map should look like when the students have completed the assignment. So they've marked the Sahara, they've underlined the Atlas Mountains, they've drawn a line across the bottom of the Sahara, and then a line underneath the Sahel. And then they put these icons in here, and it talks about drought, rain, it talks about, shows a farming piece of equipment, grazing, and tree removal. And so it gives us all that information. This is what the student activity should look like. But now let's look at it from the student perspective. So this is what it looks like when the students get it. They will have this blank map, and then they will have instructions right here. The kids will follow the step-by-step instructions. And you'll notice it has embedded little additional pieces in here. So they say, okay, it says the huge Sahara divides northern Africa from the rest of Africa. The Sahara is larger than the 48 contiguous United States. No other desert is close to its size. All right, great. Gives us some information. Use the rectangle tool to put a box around the word Sahara. So the kids will be marking that up. They're going to use this right here. And you'll notice that it only gives them the icons for this activity right here. And then they have the text tool here. They have the ability to create a rectangle or a polygon or draw. So all of those in here. So the students will read through this. They're looking at all of this step by step. And it tells them right here to place mountain symbols across those different mountains. Talks about drier climates. Here's another precipitation map. So they're going to compare that, and they're going to see the big difference between the Sahel and the Sahara. And so they'll work through this activity. Again, there's another precipitation map, and they will continue to mark up the map as they're working and ask them to put in. It discusses all of the reasons for desertification. So it talks about how removing natural vegetation, shifting cultivation, and then this pulls up a land use map. So we're looking at how land is being used here. Talks about, them putting in the symbols for shifting cultivation. Then it talks about too many cattle and overgrazing. And so they're marking that up. And so by the time they're done, they'll understand why the Sahel is so critical and why farmers need to practice good things to help slow the process of desertification so that the Sahara doesn't eat up all of the Sahel and make it completely uninhabitable. So it's a really good mapping activity. They're learning about the names of the countries, and they're learning about some of the political and cultural aspects as well as they work through the activities. So these are really fun, hands-on types of mapping activities. Those ones are not printable, unfortunately. So sorry about that. One more thing I'm going to show you guys for 6th grade world cultures is from one of my series called one of my favorites called Hungry Planet. Oh, History's Mysteries. These are cool too for crime scene investigation. There's some good ones. I think there's only like 2 or 3 that you can use for 8th grade U.S. history, but there's one. Actually, there's a few that you can use for 6th grade world cultures, especially if you're looking at like actually studying maybe the historical cultures. There's one on like the Gulag. So if you're looking at the Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union, the Gulag one is really cool. So is the one on the samurai of Japan. It's a little gory because it's a crime scene investigation, and the samurai had their head chopped off. It uses like not real pictures, of course. But anyways, this one here, Hungry Planet. These are super cool. I'm going to jump in. Let's say you're studying the country of Germany. What the authors did was they traveled around the world and they found families to interview. They researched these countries, and there's a big culminating activity at the end of this where the students are going to analyze statistics. But for this one here, you start off here looking at Germany. It gives us some background information on Germany, and then we're going to click on this family. So the photographers, the authors and photographers, they traveled the world and they said, we want you to put out everything that you eat in the course of 1 week on your kitchen table, and we're going to photograph your family. I love this here because look at this teenager's face. That just sums it all up, right? Every teenager kind of has that look. You've seen it from just about every kid. So then you see all the food on the table, and the students are going to answer some questions about that. You, of course, have your magnifying tool right here. You can look at the different foods they're eating. I love these frozen pizzas right here. It says Die Ofen Frisch. Yep, oven fresh pizza. All right, and then over here, these are the questions that the students would answer. Then there are a couple of short readings that accompany these. They're just about a one-pager. Some discussion questions here. So you can, once you assign this, you can post questions about this. You can take these questions and post them in your discussion forum where the kids can give responses. It's just kind of neat. It's like, well, what do you guys notice here? What surprised you? Store-bought versus homemade, and understanding the different classifications that way. And then, of course, you have these strategic readings and then some inferencing questions here at the end for the students to answer. What I think, what the text says, was I right? And then this one here, how seriously does Germany take its organic certification program? What I think, what the text says, was I right? So these are just some inferencing types of questions that go along with it. Looks like we have a question in the chat box. Can we send them a link to sign up before we send an assignment? Yes. Let me show you guys again where that is. So before we leave, I'll show you guys one more time. So I've shown you guys the Hungry Planet here. Let me jump back and show you guys this compare and contrast is a culminating activity. So after you've studied all of the different countries, there are some questions here on country statistics. And so it gives the statistics, and then there's some great activities like life expectancy for males. There's a PDF that the students will fill out to go along with this. So you can print this out and give it to them. And they have to go through and fill out the countries, life expectancy, what are clues from the photographs that reflect the factors that influence life expectancy. So it's great for inquiry-based learning. There's a lot of inquiry-based learning in active classrooms, so getting kids to really think about what they're looking at and make sense of it. All right, so I'm going to hop back out of here and go back to the home page. So the question came up, how do we register our students? So very simple, click on Manage Students. This is the very first thing you want to do. You want to first create all of your classes, unless you just want all of the students in one giant class. It doesn't matter to me, but if you want to make your life easy, create all the classes first. All you have to do is just click on New Student Class, give it a name, and you're done. And then just click back on the word Classes, and you'll see all of your classes. Do that first, and then go here to Students. Copy this link and post that in your Google Classroom one time. Every student needs to register. Once they have registered, they will be in Active Classroom. So they copy and paste that link, or they just click on that link and go right into it. They register. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to show you guys one more time. So this is the student registration URL. It says it right there, student registration URL. Okay, and they just post that into, and this is all they have to do. Tell them to use their Duncanville ISD username and password. So whatever their Duncanville ISD email is, their password that they normally use, and this is why you had to set up your classes first, because then they drop themselves directly into that class, click I agree, and register. And it's really that easy. It'll take the kids maybe 3 minutes to do that. But once they do that, then you can send those classroom links. All right. Any other questions you guys have for me? Looks like another one just popped up. Can you go over the teacher registration sign up again? Okay. So Sarah is sending you guys a link, and it works pretty much the same way as the student. So all you have to do is click on that link. Let me grab one for you. I'll show you guys what it looks like from the teacher's side. Oh, I've got to go to a different account here. Just a second. Okay, so Sarah's going to send you a link that looks something like, it's actually going to be this. So this is so you're going to get this link right here, and I'll copy this and I'm going to post it into the chat box too. Oh, I can't. Sarah, can you post that into the chat box? I'm not sure why it's not allowing me to post things in the chat box. But this is what it looks like. So when you get that link, Sarah, you can get it from your, I think from your super user or from your admin account. It should look like this. But if not, it's in the email that she sent around. So all you do is post, you just copy, you click on that link, and it is case sensitive. So you may have kids, if they're not following directions, if they're not clicking on the link that you give them, they're not copying and pasting it. If they do it incorrectly at all, then you have, oh wait, looks like there's some more stuff down here. Oh, awesome. Thanks, Sarah. So this is the link. It's really easy. Just give your first name, your last name, email, contact phone, password, and confirmation. Oh, it doesn't have a place to put a school in. Okay, that's cool. Looks like we just set it up as the district level, so you don't have to put a school in or anything like that. So see, it's really that easy. First name, last name, password. And you only use this link one time. After that, you'll want to use just activeclassroom.com. From there on out, just go to activeclassroom.com. So let me make sure you say that again. Use this link only one time only. And then just go to activeclassroom.com anytime after that. Did everybody get that? Okay. Looks like I've got just about every question answered. I'll hang out for just another minute and see if you guys have any other questions for me. Nothing? Oh, wait, there's a question. Oh, thank you very much. Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you guys for being here. Hopefully this will make your lives a lot easier with the remote teaching. I guess I forgot to show you the discussion board, so let me show you what that looks like real quick before we conclude. All right, so when you assign something, it posts a discussion board right here. So I just assigned that Atlas of U.S. History right here. If you click on it, it'll take you to the discussion. Just click on the discussion forum, and then right here you can type in anything you want. You can post pictures, you can post video links, other things like that in here, and then the students can reply back and comment. They cannot privately interact with each other. It's all controlled by the teacher, so you can delete their comments and things like that as well. So that is the discussion forum. You can use it or not use it. I have some teachers that use the heck out of it, and then I have other teachers that are just like, no, I just communicate with Google Classroom. So either way, it doesn't really matter. Is there a sign-in sheet? That'll be a question for Sarah. Is there a sign-in sheet or anything like that for them? Or are you just writing down all of the people that attended?
Just writing down all the people that attended.
Okay. And you got LW's name?
Hold on, let me go grab my paper.
And JM and MH. There's some.
Who is LW?
Lavonda Washington, Lebonda. Maryfield.
Perfect. Felicia, where are you from?
I'm from Maryfield also. Maryfield.
Maryfield, awesome.
Mhm.
Can anybody hear me?
Yep.
I'm going to stop the recording now.